Let's discuss potential youth signing news, and we discuss potential youth exits in today's latest Chelsea news video, my friends. So hit that like button, share your thoughts and opinions, and hopefully tomorrow we're going to see a positive result against Everton, because boy, we need a reaction, my friends. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, but before we get into things, today's video is brought to you by Parimatch UK. How would you like the chance to win a £50 free bet? This season, Parimatch UK have launched their new, completely free-to-play football prediction game called Hat-Trick Hunt. Each week, you will get the chance to predict 3 scores from the Premier League with rewards for each correct prediction that you make. Get all 3 correct, and you will be rewarded with a £50 free bet. It really is that simple. So as you guys have seen on screen beside me, these are my 3 scorelines. I've gone for Villa to draw against Arsenal. I've gone for us to beat Everton, and I know I'm being hopeful, but come on, like, surely we can't suffer L after L this season. Surely we have to see a reaction now against Everton. I think we'll do that right now. And obviously for the final scoreline, I've gone for Spurs and Newcastle to kind of like cancel each other out. So I've gone for a 2-2. So my friends, do you agree with my predictions? If you'd like to get involved yourself, of course, click the link below. Of course, you must be 18 plus or over to play, and you know, full terms and conditions apply. So thank you to my friends at Parimatch for sponsoring today's video. So let's start with the latest news coming out from Goal Brazil, and yet again, we are in the news when it comes to trying to sign another under 18-year-old Brazilian player. I know a lot of you guys are getting sick and tired of this, and listen, we can all be honest here. I think we'd be a lot more impressed with these stories if we were seeing results on the field. But I guess at the same time, with news like this, we kind of have to separate how we feel about the current situation with the club, because this is a very tangible, real report coming out from Brazil right now, and it is kind of exciting news. Regardless, reports in Brazil state that we are opening negotiations to sign recently turned 16-year-old in Estevao Willian. Now, he's finally made his first team debut for Palmeiras. He played the final game of the season where they beat Cruzeiro. They've won the league, and you know what, when I read stories like this, it reminds me how, well, as my dad would say, how football used to be back in the day, where when the season was ending, you would see the next like products and talents coming from the academy getting their opportunities, and in a way it kind of lets you know what to expect for the following season. So I think over the next 2 years we're going to see big things around Estevao Willian, because he has a lot of hype around him. He had an excellent under-17 tournament with the Brazil national team squad, and you know, there's a reason why for certain stories like this, I like to have the clips of the player playing, because I'm sure you guys are forming your own opinions as we speak right now. But regardless though, it seems like Willian has a 45 million release clause that's been set, and what's interesting is that Palmeiras owns 70% of his rights, and the other 30% goes to the player's camp. Now, I've said this point a few times in videos, because I've thought to myself, why are we so interested in signing the best talents from Brazil? Yeah, it's got to a point now where we're more than happy to wait for like 2 years before a lot of these guys are ready to play for us. You know, why are the Brazilian players themselves so inclined to want to sign for us too? And I think it comes down, in my opinion, to a lot of these guys owning rights in their contracts. And obviously 30% of 45 million, I think, is like 12 to 13 point something million pounds. So you're instantly becoming a millionaire. If you're a teenager and you're instantly emming up your whole family, how are you going to say no to an opportunity like this, where you think to yourself, listen, financially, we're going to be set right now, we're good. But in the future, you know, if it didn't work out with us, you're still probably set to have an amazing career, and you've kind of just like sorted out your family's finances now forever. So I can kind of understand why many are open to these types of moves. As we know from the summer, Paris Saint-Germain had a 35 million bid turned down. And I kind of think, based on the fact that this kid has all the best teams in the world after him, City, Barcelona, Madrid are looking at him too. Of course, they've just signed Endrick. Palmeiras produce some of the best Brazilian talents that you will ever see, yeah? It makes a lot of sense why clubs are looking to go in quite early now. And I do feel like when there is competition, I think it kind of forces us to have to react and try and match those offers. And it seems, based on these reports, we aren't looking to waste any time in trying to get this deal done. To give you guys some further context around the news though, Palmeiras want 20 million upfront as a fixed fee, and they're happy to receive the rest of the money in installments and structures, which I think probably works in everyone's favour. Interestingly enough, we got some context behind what these clauses are, and they include things like goal bonuses, call-ups to the Brazilian national team squad, etc, etc. It reminds me of our deal when we signed Mudryk from Shakhtar, because the amount of clauses in that deal are ridiculous, and they include things like winning the Premier League, Ballon d'Or bonuses, bonuses for scoring and assisting. And at this point in time, currently, Mudryk is nowhere near achieving any of these things. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he can start to find that form. Obviously, we want to see our players do well, but it's a reminder that even though the reports always gas the massive figures and fees, there's a lot of intelligence that goes behind structuring these deals to a point where if someone hypothetically didn't work out, I don't think you're going to feel the repercussions of their sale too much based on how we're structuring these deals over time, right? So, of course, that's the news out of the way, but I need to share my thoughts and opinions. And come on, I feel like it's quite hard sometimes to have like proper concrete ideas around the club. You guys, I'm a bit of like a fluid type of thinker. I see things in like a Venn diagram, but you know, things can overlap, and that's how my brain just works. I don't know why. And I just feel like it's hard to really have concrete views behind the direction of the club. Because listen, on one hand, I've said this before and I still feel it. Are we focusing too much on the future right now and not really thinking about the present? You know, it's all good preparing for the next 10 years and, you know, future-proofing the club, right? But will a lot of these ideas work if we aren't being successful in the league, if we aren't rising up the table, if we're not getting Champions League football? That's the thing that can really undermine and make things a bit iffy. And it's just like, should we not maybe prioritize the first team a bit more? That's a discussion I'd like to hear you guys get involved with. But I also think too, because I'm fluid, you know, are our owners that silly? Is this just like fanfare coming from myself? Obviously, they'll probably think we can afford to invest in the team now. And you could argue that they've proven that. I mean, to buy Caicedo for 150 million, the new British record fee, you know, they weren't wasting time in the window. Maybe we've signed a lot of inexperience, but in terms of their application, their actions, they do show that they are prepared to invest right now, but also making sure they're buying the next superstars in the future. And we're seeing this kid, 16 years old, left-footed. His nickname is Messinho. I mean, these types of players are the ones that make teams great, if you know what I mean. Obviously, at 16 years old, you know, there's always the ifs and buts and maybes around whether they will live up to their careers. But based on how I've seen Madrid really prosper from using your Vinicius Juniors, you know, your Rodrigos, two of the best wide players in the world right now. Rodrigo in incredible form this season. The competition for this kid, would we be making a mistake not going for him? And when I see Estevao, I mean, I've heard of him already as a 15-year-old. I heard about this guy during the Under-17 Brazilian World Cup. It seems like he could be on the level of talent of a Kendry Pires. And I think as fans, would we have said no to that type of deal, irrespective of the form that we're showing in the league right now? I'm not too sure. And then when I think about it like that, I then kind of break it down even more. And I think to myself, okay, let's say worst comes to worst, we're still struggling to get Champions League football in the next few seasons. Could it be a blessing in disguise knowing that in 2 years' time you have talents like Kendry and Estevao that will be here for the next few years, helping your team rise? And that's the worst case scenario. But of course, the best case scenario is that, you know, our team will be a bit more experienced in the next 2 years, and then we're adding two incredible talents to the lineup. And I think with how we're doing business, I think we've left open the flexibility to move players on if they're not really living up to expectations, and then having the next talents on the conveyor belt. So I don't know, I'm sure we're going to discuss the story quite a lot. I've got a lot of thoughts and opinions behind things, and yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Is this getting a bit boring for you? And you can be honest. Do you understand the business sense behind this? Do you think Estevao Willian is just that good that, listen, if we can get him early, go for it? Let us know how you feel below, my friends. And now for the final story, let's discuss the future around Noni Madueke, because a few reports from the UK are suggesting that Noni is really considering his future here now, and he's thinking, I need to go in January. Now this season he's played less than 200 minutes, like 170 minutes, not played one full 90, one Premier League start, I think. It's not ideal. And this is a guy that we signed for like 35 million, rising to 40 on an 8-year multi-deal, and he is earning 50k a week, which I guess makes it okay. But to focus on the reports first before I start getting carried away, reports state that we are open potentially to a loan if Noni wants to go, or even a permanent sale. And there's like early signs of interest from clubs like Besiktas and others, but I'd imagine that it could grow even more if it's really concrete that Noni is available in the market. And it's a weird one. You know, I think number one, it's interesting that your future can really be dependent on how a manager judges and rates you. You know, Pochettino probably has his reasons for why Noni isn't starting right now. We know that Noni has had a lot of injuries, a very stop-start season, no proper pre-season as well too. But he has also shown his promise internationally, right? But maybe Pochettino isn't seeing enough. But at the same time, other managers might be thinking, okay, you know, I think this guy is definitely a work in progress. I see the talent, I see the potential. I'm okay to invest in him because of X, Y reasons. So I think sometimes the game really can be like that. And I don't know, I just think for me, I know some fans feel like Noni needs to go, he's not good enough. I find it hard to accept that just concretely, because it's like we're not really seeing him that much have like proper concrete opinions. And I feel like if we can have hope around guys like Armando Broja, that's also not played as much due to things outside of his circle, you know, outside of his reach, I feel like we can maybe have a bit of patience around Noni. Because listen, I know people will think about the club photos that he got you know, spotted in with. For me, I didn't really care too much about that. Is that his boy's birthday party? I don't think the images reflect Noni's professionalism or his character or mentality, because, you know, listen, young guys who are millionaires, they're going to have these moments. The game's a game, right? But this is a guy that left Spurs at 16 feeling like he was ready to be playing first team football then. And he decided that going to Holland was the best step for his career, not only because of PSV, but most importantly, he's getting out of the environment to focus solely on his professionalism. And I think to go to another country at 16 is not the easiest thing, irrespective of this sport being football, it isn't. So he's always put his career first. And could this be a potential reasoning as to why he's looking to leave, maybe in January, if these reports are correct? I'd like to hope that he stays here for at least a season. I just get uncomfortable having these hasty judgments on players. I haven't seen players much, and obviously we all know he's not the finished article. I think we all know that maybe he holds onto the ball a bit too much at times, maybe he overplays at times. That's a common sign with him. But when you're not playing as much, I mean, you're very young, is that also like a realistic thing to expect? I mean, he was getting double digits at PSV for goals and assists, right? So he knows how to find the back of the net. And I think when he showed his promise last season, he showed how capable he is 1v1. And I think he probably is our most consistent 1v1 threat. And I like to think in a very packed month like December, we are going to turn towards him and give him an opportunity to show what he can do in game. Because some players are kind of like that, right? I think there is more to come from Noni. I'd like to see a bit more of him before I'm very concrete with my judgment on him. I think there's something there. If he can cut inside a bit more, take his shots, he can do that. And when I've seen him play for the under-21s, I know the level is not the same. We know that. But you can't deny that this guy is by far the clearest player on the field, by far the most dangerous threat, and he does a lot of solo individual moments. So hopefully this month he can win back a sport. Let's see if he plays against Everton, time will tell. But my friends, with that note, that is the end for today's story. So hit that like button, share your thoughts and opinions, and on that note, I'm Noni FC, this is BlueLionsTV. I will see you guys tomorrow.